What's going on, guys? It's your boy Man Jones here. We back at with another video after a whole month here, and now this time we'll be doing a video of our full NFL record predictions now, because now we're done with all of them, and now we're going to do our full ones and our playoff predictions now. So before we get started here, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to at least comment down your opinion below to see who you think who you got winning the Super Bowl this year. So basically, let's just go ahead and we're gonna get started with our final complete predictions. Okay, so the first team, we're gonna go through the AFC East. Now, I got the Bills going 14-3, and the reason for it is that I feel like the Bills, are going to be one of the best teams in the AFC this year, and I think they have a shot to go to the Super Bowl this year. Now, here's why: you got the best quarterback in Josh Allen, who won the MVP last year. You got a good coach in Sean McDermott, and you have a high-powered offense. But my question is that the Bills just have questions at wide receiver. You pay Khalil Shakir; he's their top target. Keon Coleman enters to his second year. I like the tight end duels of Knox and Kincaid. I like, some of their other aspects. I love James Cook as a running back. I like the offensive line. It's solid. I love the defense, especially the improvement they got, especially with Joey Bosa. Yeah. So, yeah, I like the defense improvement. I like their defensive front adding Bosa. I like, their secondary a little bit, especially through the draft adding a cornerback, but he's expected to be out for until week 5 because he suffered an injury, which that's kind of normal for a player because usually they're not ready by week 1. And they brought back Jordan Poyer, which that's nice. Tre'Davious White was really good, what they brought him back. So yeah, I like the I like their secondary. I like their linebackers. I like their defensive line. I mean, they got everything they need for a Super Bowl appearance. So, which this team can totally win the Super Bowl this year. Don't know cap about that. They can. So, I think I got the Bills going 14-3 and winning the AFC East once again. The next team I have is the New England Patriots. I got them coming in second place in the AFC East. And the reason for it is that I think Drake May is going to improve. He's going to have a breakout season. And, the Patriots, I like their offseason this year. I like the additions they add. They added Stephon Diggs to the receiving core, which that's an upgrade. I like the offensive line throughout the draft, which that was a good improvement. I like the defense a lot. I like what they bring in Milton Williams. I like them bringing in Robert Spillane at linebacker, Harold Landry. I like them bringing Chase on. I even like their secondary. I mean, I like them adding, a cornerback, adding Davis in there to go along with Gonzalez. And I also like the coaching in Mike Vrabel. I think Mike Vrabel is gonna turn this team around. I think he has a chance to take the Patriots back to the playoffs. So yeah, I like the Patriots team so far. I think they're gonna be really good this year, and and with them having one of the easiest schedules in the NFL, I think they have a shot to do it. So yes, I got the Pats going 10-7 and coming second in the AFC East. The third place in the AFC East, I have the Miami Dolphins, and the reason for it is that I just think that the Miami Dolphins, they're going to be on the downfall this year. They're probably going to take a little bit of a step back this year because there's a lot of changes going on. I have questions about Tua. Now the question is, can Tua stay healthy? We don't know. And I have questions about the coaching. Is Mike McDaniel the future of coaching of the Dolphins? Like, is he the right guy to take them to the playoffs? Like, we don't really know because the Dolphins have not won a playoff game for so long. And there's rumors saying that McDaniel could be on the hot seat now, which that could be normal. Um, they got they got great offensive weapons. I like the receiving duo. They traded Jonnu Smith away, but they did replace him with Darren Waller, which that's nice. Achane a stud at running back. Offensive line's a little sketchy, a little bit. The defense, it's okay, but not great. They have a great pass rush. Linebacker is a question. Secondary is a question mark. They have questions at cornerback. They got rid of Jalen Ramsey and they traded him away, but you did bring in Mika Fitzpatrick to replace Javon Holland, which they lost him. So there's a lot going on in Miami, and I think the Dolphins, I think they have a lot of ways to go, a lot of areas to improve. So I think the Dolphins, I think a 7-10 record would put is probably how way I see it. I think this is the downfall of the Dolphins. I think they need a year to reset until I be a believer in them to make it back to the playoffs. So yeah. And last place I have in the AFC East, I have the New York Jets. And the reason for it is that the Jets are going to be doing learning curves. Going to have a new head coach in Aaron Glenn, which I'm not a big believer in though, in Aaron Glenn, because I think he's probably not really a great coach, and I don't think he's going to turn this Jets team around. They have one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league in Justin Fields, who can't really throw or anything like that. Like, they have a guy who can't really throw, which he can run. Like, he can't even throw like a water if he got out of a boat and all that. Like, he can't throw for anything. And I like the other aspect of their offense. I like Breece Hall. I love Garrett Wilson. They need to add another receiver to complement him. They don't have a number 2 receiver. I have questions at tight end. Offensive line is a little sketchy. Defense is good, but it's up and down. So, yeah, I don't like the Jets so far this year. I don't see them being great at all this year, especially with Justin Fields at quarterback and all that. So, yeah, I see them as a 2-15 record and definitely missing the playoffs and being one of the worst teams in the NFL. Now, moving on to the AFC North. Now, I got the Baltimore Ravens at 14-3. And the reason why I got the Ravens at 14-3 is because I just think the Ravens, are going to be one of the best teams in the NFL coming this season. I like, know their offseason so far. I think because you got Lamar Jackson, who's a 2-time MVP. You have Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in the NFL. You have great weapons. You got Zay Flowers, who's a stud. You added DeAndre Hopkins to the receiving core along with Bateman, which that's nice. Mark Andrews a stud. Isaiah Likely's a stud. So the Ravens got a good skill group offensively. I like their offensive coordinator. They got one of the best coaches in John Harbaugh. Offensive line is okay, but it's still one of the best in football. The defense is really good. I like their playmakers. I like Manamuke. Their D line is good. Their linebacking core is good. I like their secondary is elite right now after adding Jair, which that's in Awuzie. I like the safety duo of Starks and Hampton. So yeah, I think the Ravens defense is going to be one of the best in football right now in the league. So basically, I see the Ravens as going 14-3 and winning the AFC North again and being the best team in the AFC once again. And I feel like this team can definitely win the Super Bowl this year, which I think they can though. So yeah, so that's why I got the Ravens going 14-3 and being one of the best teams in the AFC and having the number 1 seed. In second place in the AFC North, I got the Cincinnati Bengals going at second place in the AFC North. And the reason why is that, I think the Bengals could totally take another step back this year because I'm not a big believer in their defense enough. Bringing back retaining Trey Hendrickson was totally a good move because they've been rumors saying that he's open to get traded, and now they end up paying him, which that's good, which that's a huge plus to their defense. Now the offense is one of the best in the league. You got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins, you even got Yossi Vi as a wide receiver. Jasecki's good. They also added a tight end as well, and Noah Fant. I love Chase Brown. I love the offense. Um, Offensive line is pretty good, but it could be sketchy. Defense, it's a little bit up and down, but it's average. But last year they were like one of the bottom 20 defenses in the NFL, especially against the pass and against the run. So yeah, so I look to improve at corner a little bit. I mean, cornerback is good. I like their corners, their safety, their linebacking duo. I like their D line, bringing back Trey Hendrickson. If Trey Henderson wasn't there, I mean, that would be a huge blow to their D line. So yeah, and I'm really not a fan of their coach as well. And he's made a Super Bowl appearance though before, but hasn't won. But I'm not really sure if the Bengals defense is going to be good enough to surpass past 10 wins. So basically, I think the Bengals are going to win like 10, 11 games this year. I see the Bengals as like a 9 to 10 win team this year. I mean, if their defense if their defense can be as like a top 10 unit, I see them as 12 wins. So yeah, I got the Bengals at 10-7, making it back to the playoffs and coming in second in the AFC North. Next team is I had the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are, I feel like the Steelers have dominated the offseason so far. I like the offseason moves. I like them bringing in Aaron Rodgers, which that was nice. Um, Offensive line is not great. Um, they traded Pickens away, and now they got DK Metcalf right now. They don't have a number two receiver. They might need to add one, but I like the two tight ends of Fairmouth and Jonnu Smith. I think they could switch them around. I like the weapons they have. I love Jalen Warren. I think he's going to be a really good running back. The defense is a top 3 in the NFL. I like their secondary improvement with them adding Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay with the cornerback group. But losing Mika was totally a huge blow to their safety duo. Maybe they could look to add one, but I don't know if they can. I love Tomlin. He's a really great coach, and he's never had a losing season with the Steelers team, and they have made the playoffs so many times, and they also even missed the playoffs with a 9-8 record. I see the Steelers as a 9-8 record and barely missing playoffs, and they could be outside looking in. I feel like this is another winning season for Mike Tomlin, though, but I know a lot of people think the Steelers are probably going to have a losing season because Tomlin, the Steelers have not won a playoff game for so long in like 7, 8 years. So I think the Steelers, I see them around 9 wins so far. So yeah, I don't really think they're going to make the Super Bowl or anything. So yeah. So I see the Steelers as a 9-8 record and definitely missing the playoffs and looking outside in and coming in third in the AFC North. And finally, last place, I got the Cleveland Browns going 2-15. And the next team is the Cleveland Browns, and the reason why I think the Cleveland Browns are gonna be one of like the worst teams in the NFL because the Browns, they have questions at quarterback because we don't know who the quarterback's gonna be. Like, is it gonna be Joe Flacco? Is it gonna be Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders? We don't really know who they're gonna be QB1. Now we know it won't be Kenny Pickett because he got traded, and Deshaun Watson's gonna miss most of the season. So definitely, now Joe Flacco is expected to be their star, but I don't know if he gives them a good chance for the Browns to win some games. Now the Browns, as you look at their schedule, it's very terrible because they have to play like playoff teams like the Packers, the Lions, and the Vikings. They even got to play against an improved Bears team, the Ravens twice, the Steelers twice. They even got to play against an improved Niners team and the Bills. Like, their schedule is very difficult though. Like, the Browns, I don't really think they're going to be a good team this year. And I see them as one of the worst teams in the league because the Browns, they don't really have, Like I like Aspas as their team. I like their defense a lot, but they're going to be worn out on how bad their offense will be. I mean, bringing back Miles Garrett was huge, but they're going to be worn out how bad their offense will be because their offense is not good. I mean, they only got Jerry Judy and David Njoku, but they don't have a number two receiver. They don't have, a quarterback right now. And they got a coach who's good, but I don't really know. But at the same time, I think the Browns are going to be one of the worst teams in the league. And I have them going 2-15, being one of the worst teams in the league, and definitely coming in last place in the AFC North once again because of the questions they have at quarterback. And their offense is going to be one of the worst in the league. So, yeah, so basically, I think the Browns will go 2-15. So now we're done with the AFC North right now. Now let's move on to the AFC South. Now the Texans, the Houston Texans are going through another offseason. The Texans, they made the playoffs last year, and I like what the Texans did so far. The Texans, they're are a very interesting team. Now the thing is about the Texans is I like their quarterback in CJ Stroud, which I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I like, their offense a little bit. I like the moves they made at running back with Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb. I love Mixon. I like them adding Chubb to the mix. So now you have a good running back duo. The receiving core, is a little iffy because they lost Diggs, but they still got Nico Collins, who's a stud. They added Christian Kirk to the receiving core to replace, Tank Dell because Tank Dell is going to miss majority of the season. So at least the offense will be okay. I mean, they got Schultz there. Offensive line solid. I mean, I like the moves they made there. The defense, the defense is one of the best in the league. I like their D line. I like the linebacking core. I like the secondary a little bit. I think the Texans defense is going to be one of the top 5 unit in the league because they were like top 5 against the run and the pass last year. Like I could totally see the Texans totally win the Super Bowl this year with them being a good, great defensive unit. Like I can see it happening though, but I don't know if they're gonna be if it's enough to win the Super Bowl. So even though they can like win, especially they can make the playoffs, especially in a weak division. So I see the Texans going around 11-6, winning around 11-6. So I see them as winners of the AFC South once again. And they also have a good coach in D'Amico Ryans as well, who's coach of the year. He's a great defensive unit. So yeah, that's pretty much why. The next team is the Jacksonville Jags. Now, the Jacksonville Jags are an interesting team. The Jags, I like what they did so far through the draft with them adding Travis Hunter because now he's going to play both sides in position. I mean, with them getting him was awesome. Um, Brian Thomas is a stud at wide receiver. Um, Trevor Lawrence, I feel like he's a bit overrated. A little bit, but he was like top 5 like a couple years ago, but now he's kind of regressed so far. I feel like if he can play like a top 10 guy, I have a feeling that the Jacks can totally be an elite team. But I like their offense a little bit. Their offensive line's a bit sketchy. The defense, it's like I don't think it's good, but it was like one of the worst in last year, especially in pass defense and run defense. But their run defense is fine. I mean, I like the Jags defense. I mean, I'm much fan of their offense more than their defense, but I just don't really know if their defense is going to be able to be good enough to surpass, like to at least surpass like 9 or 10 games and all that. So yeah, I mean, they got a new coach in Liam Cohen. We're gonna see what he can do as far as at the offense, especially him calling plays and all that. So yeah, I see the Jags as a 6-11 record, and I have them missing the playoffs again because I think they need at least one more year to get them back to the playoffs. They just need to improve the defense enough before I be a believer. So that's why I got the Jags going 6-11. Next team, the Tennessee Titans. Now here's the Tennessee Titans are tricky. Now they have a quarterback in Cam Ward, who I really like. Um, Now I kind of like what the Tennessee Titans did this offseason so far. I really like the weaponry with Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett. So I like the receiving core a little bit. It's still okay. Tony Pollard still set at running back, which that's nice. The offensive line is a bit sketchy. The defense it's okay, but it's not great. But they were totally not a great defense so far last year, but I don't think their defense is going to be good enough so far. I mean, they have a coach who I really don't believe in, and I really think they need to reset. And I think they need to move on from Callahan, move in a different direction, find a new head coach that can really take the team by storm. And I think Cam Ward, he has potential, but I like the promise that he brings, but he has long ways to go because he's a rookie. So basically, I have the Titans going 4-13 so far, and so that's why I think they'll lose. That's why I think they'll have another losing season before I be a believer in them. So I got them going third in the division. Next team, I have the Indianapolis Colts. I got the Colts. The Colts are an interesting team, though. I think the Colts are going to be one of the worst teams in football. And the reason for it is that, the Colts, they don't really have a quarterback right now. I mean, they got Anthony Richardson and they got Daniel Jones. We don't know who's starting. Now, Daniel Jones is going to start. And even though Anthony Richardson's healthy, I don't think they're going to do that, though. Now, the Colts, are probably going to be one of the worst teams in football because, they don't have a quarterback. But I do like the running back room. I love Jonathan Taylor. I love the receiving core. I love Pittman and Downs. I love Pierce. I mean, A.D. Mitchell has potential. I love Warren from the draft, which that's nice. The offensive line is just average, but not great. The defense is really good. I like their defensive line. I like the linebacking core. The linebacking core is not great. The secondary, is pretty good. I like them revamping their cornerback room, adding, Ward and Howard. I mean, adding Bynum was nice for them. So, yeah, I like the Colts so far. I like their defense so far. Bringing in Lou was really great. Um, at the same time, I just don't really think the Colts are going to be good enough, to make the playoffs so far. And I don't think their quarterback is good enough because we know Daniel Jones is not going to do enough so far. So that's why I think the Colts are going to be one of the worst teams in the league. And I have them winning 3 games and going 3-14 this year. Now to move on to the AFC West. The Kansas City Chiefs. Now the Kansas City Chiefs are an interesting team though. Now the Kansas City Chiefs, last year they have made every Super Bowl appearance and they haven't even missed one since like 2021, 2022. So I got the Kansas City Chiefs going 12-5, and the reason for it is that I think they're going to take a little bit of step back because they could be on a Super Bowl hangover. Usually teams, who didn't win Super Bowl can totally be on Super Bowl hangover. But the Chiefs, they still got Patrick Mahomes. They got Travis Kelce. They got Andy Reid. They got, Asp as a team. I like their offense a little bit. Now, Rashee Rice, he has potential to be a stud, but he's going to miss time due to, an injury and all that. Because, he's on suspension, which that's normal for a player that we know he can't play. I like Hollywood Brown. I like Gray. I like Juju Smith-Schuster. Um, so yeah, so basically, I like the receiving core. I think Worthy has potential to be a stud. Offensive line did improve a little bit, but it's still not great. The defense is totally one of the best in football so far. They still got Chris Jones. He's getting older. I love Karlaftis. I like the linebacking core, Tranquil, Bolden, and Chanel. I like the secondary with a lot. Trent McDuffie is a stud. Like, I like their defense a lot. I love Spags. He's gonna be. I feel like he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. So yeah, Andy Reid's a top coach in the NFL. I feel like the Chiefs, they can totally win the Super Bowl this year. I can see it happening again, but we know they didn't because they got destroyed by the Eagles. So yeah, I think the Chiefs, I think they have potential to make it to the Super Bowl again. And I think they have a chance to be a top team in the AFC. And I think they're gonna win the AFC West again. So yeah, I got the Chiefs going 12-5. Next team is the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they could fight with the Chargers. I think they could fight third place with the Broncos and first place with the Chiefs. I got the Los Angeles Chargers. The one thing I like about the Chargers is I think the Chargers are a great team this year. They made the playoffs last year. Um, I love Herbert. He's a stud at quarterback. I like the improvement at running back they have with Najee Harris and Hampton, which I think they can run the ball better with Greg Roman this year. I like the receiving core. They brought back Keenan Allen, which that's nice. Ladd McConkey's a stud. He had a breakout season. He looks to be a stud. I like, other aspects like Johnston, he's not great, but at least you added Keenan Allen as an upgrade, which that's nice. Offensive line is really good, but it could be a little bit sketchy because their left tackle and Slater is going to be out for the season because he had a torn ACL in camp a couple weeks ago. The defense, it's a little bit up and down, but I don't think it's okay. But the defense is great. I mean, they have a great defense though. I like the defense so far. I mean, they're they're relying on old man Mac. Like, their D line outside of him is not great. The linebacking core has questions. Secondary actually has major questions because they lost Samuel. They still got James, but they have questions in the secondary. So basically, I think the Chargers can go somewhere from like 10 to 12 wins this year. I don't think they're going to win like 13, 14 games, but I can see them winning the West. But I just don't really see it though, because I think the Chargers, they got long ways to improve. They just need to improve their secondary, their linebacker, and their D line a little bit. So yeah, so that's why I got the Chargers going 12-5 so far, and I think they'll come in second division. Next team is the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, they're an interesting team. They made the playoffs last year. The Broncos, I like their roster this year. I mean, I'm a huge fan of their defense. There is one of the best in football. It was like one of the best in football last year, and they led the league in sacks. Vance Joseph is a great defensive coordinator. I like their offensive line a little bit. It's one of the best. I mean, I love Bo Nix. I think he has potential to be a stud. On the receiving core has questions. I love Sutton, but I feel like they need to add another receiver to complementary him. I like Evan Ingram, which has a great improvement. Tate Dobbins was an upgrade at running back, which I really like because he was good last year with the Chargers. Their secondary is good. Their D line is good. Linebacking core is good. So I think their defense is going to be a top unit in the NFL. So yes, I think the Broncos, I think they can go somewhere from like, I think they can like make the playoffs again. And I believe in their coach as well, and Sean Payton. And I felt like he was the right guy, the Bo Nix was the right guy for him instead of Russell Wilson. So I think the Broncos, I think they can win like 11 or 12 games this year. So I'm going to say they win 11 games and come in third place in the division. So yeah. Next team is the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders are like another fascinating team. I like, some of the aspects they have. I like their receiving core a little bit, adding Amari Cooper to go along with Jacoby Myers. I love Genty. I love Bowers as tight end. I like the offensive line. I mean, it's a little average. The defense is pretty good. I mean, Max Crosby is stud, but outside of Max Crosby, I don't think their defensive line is that good. Um, Christian Wilkins, they lost Christian Wilkins. They lost Robert Spillane, but they brought in Devin White, which that's nice. And their secondary just has major questions. I mean, they add Jamal Adams and all that, but their secondary, they just need to look to improve at cornerback. I mean, they just got too many flaws, though. I mean, I love Pete Carroll. I love Chip Kelly. I like the coaching staff. I love Gino. But they just got too many holes on their roster. So, yeah, I mean, so that's pretty much why I think, the Raiders will come in last place in division in the AFC West. Now moving on to the NFC division. Let's move on to the NFC West. NFC East. As an NFC East, I have the Philadelphia Eagles going 13-4. And the reason for it is that I think the Philadelphia Eagles, they won a Super Bowl last year. I mean, they got the best running game ever. Saquon Barkley is a stud. He's one of the best running backs in football. Jalen Hurts is a stud at quarterback. They have great weaponry on offense. Their receiving core is good. Their O-line is good. Their D-line is pretty good, but they lost some pieces. But you brought in Uche, which that's nice. They got some young players because they're a young defense. I like the secondary a lot. It's pretty young. I feel like Cooper DeJean and Quentin Mitchell have potential to be a good cornerback duo. The safety could have questions. I love Vic Fangio. He's a great He's a great defensive coach, a great defense coordinator. He was one of the best in football last year. So, yeah, so basically, and also they have a top coach in Nick Sirianni who's calling the offense. So, yeah, I think the Eagles, I feel like they're a great team. They can win the Super Bowl again. I got the Eagles going 13-4 and winning the NFC East once again because I think they're a much more talented team. Next team, I got the Washington Commanders. Now, the Washington Commanders, I got the Commanders going 11-6, and here's why. They got one of the best quarterbacks in football in Jayden Daniels because he won Rookie of the Year. He's going to be a stud at quarterback. He's already a top 10 quarterback. They have a coaching staff. I like the coaching staff. I love Dan Quinn. I love Cliff Kingsbury. I feel like that's a great coaching staff right there. I like the receiving core. I love Terry McLaurin. We know he wants to be traded, but even if he's gone, I feel like the receiving core could have questions, though. I mean, bringing him back was huge for them. I love Deebo Samuel, which that's a nice move. I love Zach Ertz, but I don't know how good their run game is going to be because, they traded Brian Robinson away, but they still got Eckler. But I still think they can run the ball. Offensive line is probably going to be one of the best in football again. The defense has major questions, but their D-line outside of Payne is not good. But I like the linebacking core as well. I love Louisville. I love Wagner. I love Von Miller, which has a great move. The secondary could have questions too. I don't know if Lattimore's any good or Jones is any good, the cornerback group is fine. I mean, they got good aspects on their team, but the Commanders still got a long ways to go, which I don't really know if their defense is really good enough to win a division. So, yeah, so that's why I think the Commanders will probably at least win like 10 or 11 games, which I think they could totally take a step back this year due to the fact that last year they won a lot of one-score games. So, yeah. So, I think the Commanders, I see them as an 11-6 team, and I have them come in second place in the NFC East. Next team is the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys, are another interesting team, though. Now, the Cowboys, a lot of people are just sleeping on them because they don't really think the Cowboys are going to be as good as last year, because of Dak and maybe because of their schedule, maybe because of Jerry Jones. But I kind of really feel that the Cowboys, I kind of really feel like they're like entering through that Tony Romo era where they were so strong a couple years ago, and I feel like they're not as strong now. Now, I like their what they did in the offseason. They added George Pickens to complement CD Lamb, which that's nice. I love Jake Ferguson at tight end. Now the question I had about the Cowboys is their run game and their run defense. We'll see what they can do with Parsons. We don't know if he's gonna be there. But if he's there, I mean that's a huge plus and a huge boost to their defensive line. But if he's not there, that totally changes. Like, the defensive line is still okay, but it's not great against the run. Maybe due to size. Udigi Zua bringing him back was nice. They added a first round. They added Ezra Raku through the draft. The linebacker core has questions, but it's young. I mean, Overshown is good. Fowler was nice to bring back. Secondary is okay. I like their cornerback duo of Diggs and Bland. Um, Safeties have questions. They're really good. They brought back Matt They brought in Matt Eberflus to work with the defense. They have a new coach in Brian Schottenheimer, which we don't know how good he's going to be. I don't really know how good the Cowboys are going to be. I feel like this is a year that I think the Cowboys are probably going to miss the playoffs again. So I think they'll probably go somewhere from 8 to 9 wins this year. So I have the Cowboys going 9-8 this year, and coming third place in the division and missing the playoffs once again. But I feel like if Dak is healthy, I think this team can totally win 9 games. But if he's not, I feel like they're probably gonna win maybe 6 games like they did before. But I just have questions about Dak. Which is he good? Is he past his prime? We don't know, but we'll see. So I got the Cowboys going 9-8. And finally, I got the Giants. The Giants are just not a good team. I feel like they're gonna be one of the worst teams in football this year. The Giants, as you look at their schedule, it's pretty terrible because they have to play a lot of good teams that made the playoffs last year as well. And the Giants, they brought in Russell Wilson, but I feel like he's not as good as he used to be. We don't know if he can get back to where he was. I don't know who's starting quarterback. They don't have a run game. Their receiving core outside Neighbors is not great. Offensive line is totally not great. The defense is insane. I mean, their D line is good. I mean, they added Abdul Carr to go along with Lawrence and Thibodeau. I like the linebacking core. I like the secondary a little bit, adding Holland, but their cornerback group is a little suspect though. So yeah, so basically, I feel like Brian Daboll is probably gonna get fired by this point because I don't really think he's that good of a coach anymore, even though he won Coach of the Year. So yeah, so basically, I have the Giants being one of the worst teams in the league and winning 2 games this year and going 2-15 and missing the playoffs again, being one of the worst teams in the league and could be in the future of their quarterback. Now let's move on to the NFC North. The Detroit Lions. I got the Lions going 11-6, and the reason for it is that their schedule is pretty tougher this year because they have to play a lot of good teams that made the playoffs last year. Now the Lions, they lost their coaches. They lost their offensive and defensive coordinators, but you know what? They still got a lot of good players on their roster. I mean, they got a great receiving core. They have a great quarterback in Goff. They have a strong run game with Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery. I like those guys. I love Monroe. I love Laporta. I love Jameson Williams. He had a breakout season. Offensive line is one of the best in football. The defense is really good when healthy. Now the question is that McNeil, he's probably going to miss a couple games. I like their secondary. It's pretty good. Adding DJ Reed to replace Davis was a great move. I like the linebacking core. I like their safeties. So yeah. So basically, yeah, I like the Lions this year. I think they're gonna be a tough team to beat, and this team can totally win the Super Bowl this year because they have a top coach in Campbell who's well motivated for games like this. So yeah, so I got the Lions going 11-6, and I got them winning the NFC North once again. Next team is the Green Bay Packers, and the reason for it is that I think the Green Bay Packers, the Packers, I feel like they're probably going to take a little bit of a step back this year because the Packers, Jordan Love, I think is a little bit overrated. Um, they have a good coach in Matt LaFleur. I like their offensive play calling. He's a great offensive play caller. The receiving core has questions, but I like them adding Golden through the draft along with the other receivers. Now Christian Watts is going to be out for a majority of the season due to injury. They got Reed, they got Dobbs, they got Wicks. I love Kraft. He's a really good tight end. I love Jacobs. The offensive line has questions. It's really good. The defense might have questions, especially their secondary because they lost Jair. I love McKinney. I like the linebacking duos. I like their D line a little bit, but I feel like they might need to improve it a little bit. So yeah, so basically, I have the Packers going 10-7. And I think they'll sneak into the playoffs. So yeah, next team is the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are a tricky team. The Vikings, I don't know how good they're going to be because now I have questions about JJ McCarthy. I don't know how good he's going to be because he didn't play a full season last year due to injury. I love Kevin O'Connell. He's a great offensive coach. I like I love Brian Flores. He's a great defense coordinator. I mean, the defense is like one of the best in football. It was like one of the best in football last year, so maybe they can again. But I like their defensive line. I like their linebacking core. Their secondary, I just have questions about. Offensive line is one of the strongest in football, and I think it had a major improvement. I like the skill group of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hockenson. I love Aaron Jones as well. I mean, I like the skill group the Vikings had on offense. I also like them bringing back Thielen to replace Jordan Addison since he's going to be suspended for a few games, which that's nice. Now, I think the Vikings are probably going to take a step back this year because I just don't really know how good JJ McCarthy is. Like, if JJ McCarthy's good, then I think the Vikings can be like a 10, 11, or 12 win team. But I don't really see it happening, though. I see the Vikings going 9-8 and have them missing the playoffs once again. So I think they'll come in third in division. So yeah. And the next team is Chicago Bears. The Bears are an interesting team, though. They're kind of a tricky team to predict. I think the Bears will probably go like 9. I think the Bears are probably going to take a step forward this year. I think Caleb is going to be really good this year. I like their roster. I like, their offensive line is a much improvement. I like the receiving core. I mean, they lost Keenan Allen, but they brought in Luther Burden. I mean, they got Romo Duzane. He entered his second year. I think he's going to have a breakout season. I mean, Colston Loveland was a great draft pick. Love him. They got Komet. The defense, I feel like is going to be really good. The defensive line outside Montez Sweat is not good. They might need another pass rusher to go along with that. Their secondary is solid. I like the corner duo. I love Jalen Johnson. I love Bayer. I love the linebackers. I love Ben Johnson. I feel like he can be one of the best coaches in football. I feel like he can get the Bears offense prepared, and I think he can put up a good game plan and develop Caleb Williams to be good. So yeah, so basically, I think the Bears will win about like 8 or 9 games, but I think they'll probably come in last place because I just have questions about the coaching. Because all four of the teams in the NFC North can make the playoffs, though, especially in a good division. So yeah, but I think the Bears, can totally sneak in. So I think the Bears can totally go 9-8 and just tie last place with the Vikings. So yeah, but I think they'll go 9-8 and just slightly miss the playoffs again. I would just say give them at least one more year to get them back in the playoffs. So yeah. Now let's do the NFC South now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are an interesting team. The Buccaneers, you know, they're a tricky team to predict because I like the Buccaneers, I like, their Buccaneers team. Like, they got the best quarterback in the division in Baker Mayfield. He's a top 10 quarterback in football. I like the running back duo of Irvin and White. I think Irvin's going to have a breakout season. I like the receiving core of Evans and Godwin. I love Emeka Buka. I love Cade Auden. He's a solid tight end. The concern is that Chris Godwin's going to miss like a couple games due to injury, which that's kind of a challenge. Now Tristan Wirf's probably going to miss a few games due to injury as well. So their offensive line is solid still. Their defense is really good. I like the additions of Hassan Reddick. I like their D line. I like the linebacking duels. I love the cornerback duels. I like their secondary a little bit. Is really good. I love Todd Bowles. He's a really good defensive coach. I like I feel like he's one of the best coaches in the division because I feel like the Bucs can totally make the playoffs again in a weaker division. So yeah, so basically I think the Buccaneers, I got them winning at least 10 games, winning the NFC South once again. Next team is the Atlanta Falcons. I got the Atlanta Falcons going 6-11, and the reason for it is that the Falcons. I don't really think they're gonna. I don't think the Falcons are gonna be a good team this year because here's the thing. I don't know how good Penix is going to be, but if Penix is good, I think the Falcons will be a playoff team. But if he's not, then they won't make the playoffs. I love their offense a little bit. I love the offensive line. I love Bijan. I love Darnell Mooney. I love Drake London, Kyle Pitts. But the defense, has major questions. I mean, they don't have a deep pass rush. Their secondary is not great. I'm not a fan of their coach, and Raheem Morris. He's just one of the worst coaches in football. So, yeah, so basically, I don't think the Falcons are good, but they're really good against the run with their defense, but they're really not good offensively. So I think Atlanta's going to win at least like 6-7 games and definitely missing the playoffs again. So I have the Falcons going 6-11 just because I'm not really a fan of Penix just yet. So yeah. Next team is the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers, are an interesting team. Now, I know a lot of people are trying to think that the Panthers are probably going to be a good team this year because they think Bryce Young is going to get better throughout the season. The Panthers, I just don't really think they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs. Now, I love aspects of their offense. I like T-Mac. I like, Hooker. I like the receiving core, but it's young. I mean, they got rid of Thielen. They don't have a tight end. I mean, they added Rico Dowell, which that's nice. Offensive line might be strong. The defense, it didn't really improve enough, but it's not as good as it was before. I feel like, last year they were one like the worst defense in football last year, especially against the run and the pass. So, yeah. And Bryce Young has long ways to go. I don't know how good he's going to be. I mean, he was great last year throughout the end of the season, but he wasn't really great, at the beginning of the season. But I feel like Bryce Young will improve, but it might take some time. And I'm really not a fan of their coaching as well as Dave Canales as well. So, yeah. So, I got the Panthers going 5-12 and totally missing the playoffs again and having another losing season. I feel like they just need at least a year or two to get them back in the playoffs until I'd be a believer. And then next team is the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are going to be interesting, but I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in football this year because, they have a quarterback who's unknown, which I don't know who's going to start. It's going to be Tyler Shark, Spencer Rattler. We don't really know because Derek Carr retired. I love aspect of their offense. I love Kamara. I love Chris Olave. I like Shaheed. I love Cooks. I like the receiving core. Their offensive line's young, but it's not great. The defense might regress. I mean, it may not be good. I mean, they lost Matthew. He retired. But they're just an old defense as well. So they got some players who are getting older. And I'm really not a fan of their coaching, Kellen Moore. I don't as well. So, yeah. So, basically, I think the Saints are going to be one of the worst teams in the league as well. Because I have them going 3-14 and definitely missing the playoffs. And I feel like they're going to be looking for their quarterback of the future. So, yeah. So, I got the Giants at the 3-14 team and being one of the worst teams in the NFL and totally coming in last place in the NFC South. Now, let's move on to the NFC West. The San Francisco 49ers. Now, San Francisco 49ers, they're like another interesting team. Like they're like a confusing team in the NFL because it's hard to like predict the 49ers because here's the thing. The 49ers, a lot of people are hating on them because here's the thing. Because one thing, because Niners are dealing with injuries and Brandon Ayuk is recovering from an ACL. Jawan James deal with an injury and he might leave. I mean, I like the weaponry. I mean, they still got George Kittle, they still got Christian McCaffrey. I like their running back condition of Brian Robinson to go along. I think they can be the best running back duo in football. They got a quarterback in Brock Purdy, who I believe in. They got a top 5 coach in Kyle Shanahan, who I believe in. Their offensive line is dreadful. Um, it's okay, but you know it might take a step back. The defense is still okay. They still got Nick Bosa. I like the draft picks they got. I love Winters. I love Warner. I love Lenore at corner. But they could have questions. They may look to at least add another corner or another safety because they lost too many players, even though they lost a lot of talent. But especially they're going to be a young defense. But I feel like as long as the 49ers can stay healthy, I think this team can totally make it back to the playoffs, which I have the Niners making back to the playoffs right now, and I think they will win the NFC West, and especially in an easier schedule because now they have an easier schedule now. So I think they can win like 12 games and make the playoffs again and win the division. So yeah, so I got the Niners going 12-5, winning the NFC West again. I think they can totally win the Super Bowl too if they're healthy. So yeah, so I got the Niners at 12-5. Next team is the Los Angeles Rams. I got the Rams going. I feel like the Rams are another interesting team though, but the Rams can be one of the most confusing teams in football because I have questions about Matthew Stafford. Like, how healthy can he be? Like, the Rams, their offensive line, it's still okay. They have a great receiving core. They got, Puka Nakua. They got Devontae Adams now to replace Cooper Cup. Kyron Williams is a stud at running back. The tight end, I'm not a huge fan of. They might need to work through that. The defense is probably going to be one of the best in football this year because they have a nasty passer. They got Jared Verse, who won Rookie of the Year. They got Braden Fix. They got Colby Turner. Like, their defensive line is going to be really great, and it could be a top unit in football. The linebacking core has questions. The secondary could have questions, though. They may need to look to improve at cornerback. They may need the safeties are good. Like, yeah, like the Rams, I thought the Rams could totally be a really good defensive unit though in football. Um if Stafford's healthy, I think the Rams can win like 11, 12, 13 games. But if he's not helping him into a couple games, I think they'll probably like take a step back this year and all that, which that can open the door for the Niners to win the division and all that. So basically, I have the Rams winning, going 11-6, making the playoffs again. And especially they got a top coach in Sean McVay as well. And I like their defense coordinator as well, and Shula. So yeah. So I think the Rams, will totally make the playoffs again. So I got them going 11-6. Next team is the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are a tricky team. I feel like the Cardinals are gonna like take a little bit of a step forward this year because I like the additions they made to the defense. I love the Josh Sweat move. I love I love the Josh Sweat move. I love the Calais Campbell move. Like, I like the moves that the Cowboys made. I mean, I like the moves that the Cardinals made. Um, their secondary has major questions. Their D line defense will be good. Offensive line is strong. The receiving core, they may look to add, Marvin Harrison Jr. is good. Trey Henderson is fine. I mean, I love the wide receiver tight end. I mean, they may look to add another receiver. Um, Kyler Murray is an interesting quarterback, though. I mean, they may need to look to add another quarterback. I mean, Kyler Murray is a bit overrated. They need to add another. I mean, I don't really know. A lot of people think the Cardinals are going to be good. Some people think the Cardinals may not be good. So I think the Cardinals will win. Like, I think they'll win like 9 games, maybe eight or 9 games. Because I don't think they're gonna be good enough to make the playoffs. But I think 9, 8 will be good enough. But I think they'll be outside looking in. Then last team in the NFC West is Seattle Seahawks. I got Seattle Seahawks might go in last place in the division because I have concerns about their offensive line. I don't think their offensive line is good. I mean, I like the Cooper Cup addition, which that's nice. That's a nice replacement for DK Metcalf. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I like him much. Um, they don't have a good run game, but I like the defense a lot. I think it's going to be really good under Mike McDonald. I love the DeMarcus Lawrence move. I like their secondary is really good as well. I think Seattle, they got Sam Darnold to quarterback. Like, I don't really think Seattle's going to be any good this year. Like, I still have questions about the offensive line, but the defense is good. But I feel like they're probably going to be a little bit worn out how bad their offense will be. So that's why I think the Seahawks will go 7-10. I think they'll miss the playoffs again. So yeah. So basically, we're all done predicting the NFL team's record. Now let's get towards the NFL playoffs and start doing our playoff predictions. So let's get started here. So as a wild card round, now this first game we have the Chargers versus Texans. Now the Chargers and the Texans game can go either way though. Now we know last year in the playoffs the Texans did beat them. That's where their defense, really did a really good job, like keeping the Chargers offense on their toes. Like they rattled Justin Herbert and all that. They made him uncomfortable in the pocket. They got pressure on him and all that. Like, I think there's a chance they can do it again. Now, the Chargers, their defense is not really strong, but I think the Texans offense can overpower them a little bit. So I'm gonna go with Texans here because I think the Texans defense is a difference maker. So yeah, I think Texans will win this game. Next game we have the Broncos versus Chiefs. A playoff wild card matchup. I think the Chiefs will win because I think the Chiefs are a more complete team, better quarterback, better coaching, and they're at home. And the home field advantage is going to be the difference maker. I think their defense, is totally going to give the Broncos offense some fits. And I just really think that, even last year the Broncos almost swept them, but even though throughout the end of the year the Broncos did beat them with the Chiefs and no stars. So yeah, I think the Chiefs will win this game just because I think the Chiefs, have owned the Broncos for several years. And I don't think the Broncos offense is going to be good enough to run the ball on them a little bit. I think Spags will do a good job, like blitzing and all that and giving the Broncos offense tough times. So yeah, I think the Chiefs defense will win this game. Okay, next game we have the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Buffalo Bills. This is another game that can go either way. Now I kind of remember last time when these two teams played, the Bengals did destroy them because they win the Buffalo and destroy them, especially in the cold. So this is a tricky game to predict. Like, it can go either way, but the question is, like, we don't know who the difference maker is. So yeah, so basically, by the way, I'm gonna go with the Bills here because I think the Buffalo Bills are a more complete team. I think they'll find more ways to win. I think offensively, I think they'll find a way to at least move the ball in the Bengals and score some points, which that will keep the Bengals defense on their toes. I think I don't think the Bengals defense will be up to the task, but I think the Bengals offense will keep up in this game as well. So yeah, and on top of that, I just really think that the Bills have a better defense. I think they can totally give Burrow some issues as well, as long as they can. But I think it will be a high scoring game. But I think the Bills do win on the last possession. Next game, we got the Commanders versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is another wild card matchup from last year, which I think last year in a wild card matchup, the Commanders did win in Tampa Bay and beat them. But at the same time, I think the Commanders can do it again. So I'm going with Commanders here, and the reason for it is that I think the Bucks defense tend to struggle against mobile quarterbacks. Like they tend to do that though. I thought last year I thought Cliff Kingsbury did a really good job, attacking Bulls defense, and they found a way to run the ball. They found a way in the Commanders offense, especially with their receivers they have, they found a way to separate against the Bucks defense and all that. And we know Jaden Daniels is really good at reading defenses and all that. So yeah. And I think the Commanders defense, I think Dan Quinn would do a good job, keeping Baker on his toes and all that as well. But at the same time, I still think, the Bucks offense could struggle a little bit because I think Dan Quinn could get them a couple times. So yeah, so basically I think the Commanders will find a way to win this game on the road in Tampa. All right, next game we have the Los Angeles Rams against Detroit Lions. This is another interesting game so far. This is a playoff game from last year, I believe so. And I believe the Lions did win. But I know this game will be fun to watch. I think it will be close. This could be a high scoring game, but I'm going with the Lions here. And the reason for it is that I just think the Lions, are going to find more ways to win. I think, I just don't really trust the Rams secondary against the Lions weaponry because the Rams with no cornerbacks against a really good skill group receiving core of the Rams is a difference maker. Receiving core of the Lions is a difference maker. So I think, Monreal St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Stan Laporte is going to be tough to cover. I feel like they can run the ball a little bit on the Rams, but I don't know if they can. And Jared Goff is really good at dicing up, young secondaries as well. And I think the Lions defense can really give the Rams offensive Stafford some issues. So yeah, and I really think I really think the Lions can win this game so far at home. So yeah, I think the Lions do have a better secondary as well. I think they'll find a way to at least stop the passing game of the Rams because they have the corners to cover the Rams receivers. They have the pass rush to get after Stafford and all that, which I think they can do that. So yeah, I like the Lions here in this game. Next game, we have the Green Bay Packers against San Francisco 49ers. This is a playoff game from last year. I believe the Niners did win this game. But obviously, I'm going to go with the Niners here because I think the Niners, I think they'll find more ways to win this game. And I really think, their defense, I really think they're offensively, I think they'll find a way to move the ball on the Packers defense. And the Packers secondary is not great, especially without Jair. So I feel like Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Juwan James is going to be too much there. And I think Kyle Shanahan can scheme some things up offensively. I think they can run the ball on the Packers. And I think their defense can get some pressure on the Packers, especially I think their D-line can totally give Jordan Love some issues as well. And I'm not really sure the Packers' weapons can separate against the Niners secondary because the Niners secondary is really good at stopping the pass, especially they were ranked as top 10 in pass defense. So basically, I think the Niners defense can be the difference maker, and I think the Niners defense can win them this game here as well. So yeah, I like the Niners here to win this game here at home. Now to move on to the divisional round. We got the Kansas City Chiefs versus Buffalo Bills. Obviously, this is a game from last year where the Chiefs did beat the Bills in the playoffs several times. But I'm going with the Bills here because I think the Bills are going to find a way to win this game, and the reason for it is that I just think the Bills, are just I think the Bills will find ways to win this game at home more because I like their offense a little bit more. I like their defense, I think their defense can give Mahomes some issues. I think the offense is really good. I think they can find a way to get after the Chiefs off defense, and I think the Bills defense can find a way to at least get some pressure against the Bills offense, against the Chiefs offense. So I think Josh Allen can be the difference maker in this game as well. I think Sean McDermott can plan better how to at least get after Mahomes and all that. So yeah, I think the Bills will find a way to win this game at home here. So yeah, I like the Bills here. Um, Next game we got the Texans versus Ravens. I'm going Ravens here. I mean, the Ravens, They have been like dismantling the Texans a lot of times. I think they can do it here because I think the Ravens that is a good matchup for the Texans because their offensive line. I think the Ravens' defensive line can be the difference maker. I think they can get after C.J. Stroud and make life difficult on him. They have really good corners that can really man up against Texans receivers. They have a solid offensive line and great weapons as well. I think the Ravens defense the difference maker in this game, and I just don't think the Texans are going to be able to run the ball on them a little bit. I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball on them a little bit against this Ravens defense. Because even if the Ravens get up early, they can blow the Texans out. So yeah, I think the Ravens will find a way to win this game. Next game, we have the Detroit Lions against the San Francisco 49ers. This is another game that can totally go either way. But for my reason though, I'm gonna go with the Lions here, and the reason for it is that I think the Lions are gonna find a way to at least like move the ball and score some points on the Niners. Even last year, the Lions did beat them, but I think the Lions can find a way to win this game because I think their defense can find a way to give the Niners offense some fits, and because they have great corners that can man up against the Niners receiving core. They have great weapons that can move the ball against the Niners secondary. That's very young, and I just think the Lions. I just have a feeling that their defense. It's going to be a challenge for the Niners offense because I think they can get some pressure against a young offensive line in the Niners. So yeah, so basically, I think the Lions will win this game because I think the Lions just got the better quarterback. So yeah, I like the Lions here to win this game. Then we got the Commanders versus the Eagles. I'm gonna go Eagles here because I think the Eagles, are just a much more better team and have the better and all that, and they're at home. And I just think they have the better defense as well, which I think the defense will be the difference maker in this game. I think they can find a way to get after Jaden Daniels and make life difficult on him, which I think they can give him issues. So yeah, and also I think the Eagles, offensively can move the ball in the Commanders, given the fact that the Commanders' defense isn't great at all. So I think this game will be close, but I think the Eagles find a way to pull this one off. So yeah, now we move on to the NFC, move on to the conference championship round. We got the Bills versus Ravens. This is a game that can go either way. I'm gonna go Ravens here because the game's in Baltimore and playing in Baltimore is tough. I think the Ravens are gonna find a way to win this game because I think the Ravens, I think the Ravens have potential to at least I think they have potential to at least win the game. Have potential to at least overpower the Bills defense because sometimes the Bills defense is soft at times against good teams. I think the Ravens offensively can find a way to at least move the ball in the Bills defense, score some points. I think they'll find a way to control time possession, keep Allen on the sidelines and all that. And I think their defense can totally get after Josh Allen, make life difficult on them if they don't allow the Bills to run the ball on them, which I don't think the Ravens are going to allow the Bills to run the ball on them, which I don't think they will. So I don't think the Ravens are going to get overwhelmed there, especially on defense. And I just feel like the true lack of weapons that the Bills had might play into the Ravens' hands. So, yeah, I think the Ravens are going to find a way to win this game at home. Then we got the NFC Championship game. We got the Detroit Lions versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This is another game that can go either way because here's the thing. Because I feel like both teams are really good. So basically, it's tough to choose, but I'm gonna go Lions here because I think the Lions are gonna be healthy by this point, and I think they'll find a way to make the Super Bowl when their defense is healthy. Which I think their defense can find a way to give Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense issue, which I think they can do that. And I just really think that their defense, think their offense, they can find a way to control the game, move the ball, and keep Hurts on the sideline, which that could allow the Lions to win on a game-winning drive or something like that. Which I think they can do that. And I think they're physical for the Eagles, and I think they're good enough to do that. And also, I think the Lions, Dan Campbell's gonna get his team prepared, ready, and all that. And I just don't think the Lions are gonna get overwhelmed there on defense. So, which I kind of really think that the Eagles, might have a tough time running the ball and all that, and passing the ball and all that. Which I think the Lions will pass the ball more than the Eagles, but I think they can. So that's why I think the Lions will win. Then finally, we got the Lions versus Ravens in the Super Bowl match. We got the Lions versus Ravens. This is a game that can go either way, but in my prediction, though, I think both defenses are going to be well prepared. I think it will be close. But my Super Bowl winner for this team is the Ravens. I got the Ravens being as Super Bowl champions. And the reason for it is that I just think the Ravens, have potential to win Super Bowl because they have the best running game, the best defense, the best secondary, the best quarterback as well. And I think Lamar Jackson has a dog in him, though, as well. And I think, alliance against mobile quarterbacks are really bad. And I think Lamar Jackson is going to get going to be too much for that. And I just don't think the Ravens are going to get overwhelmed on both sides of the ball like that, which I think the Lions will more than the Ravens because the Ravens have a great defense and they have a quarterback who can run and all that, and they have one of the best running backs in football. So, yeah, so basically, I got the Ravens win the Super Bowl. I got the Ravens winning the Super Bowl, and that's my Super Bowl prediction for them. So, yeah. I like the Ravens here. Well, all right, guys. Those are all my NFL final complete season prediction for the 2025 season. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoy watching. If you guys disagree with me, just let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about this. Well, it's your boy, Mayo Jones, a big fan. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to see more of my NFL prediction videos. So, yeah. So, well, thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Peace.